Welcome to Witham Sounding Board, a podcast sharing powerful business tips, insights, and trends for those seeking to become a rock star in their industry.
Welcome to Witham's Perspectives from the Bankruptcy Cliff, where we provide a perspective on various questions related to insolvency and bankruptcy affecting individuals and businesses. My name is Stephanie Danos, and I will be your host for this session. I am a member of Witham's Forensic and Valuation Services Group. Our team focuses on the unique needs of individuals and businesses going through a reorganization process, experiencing financial distress, or considering bankruptcy as an option. Today, I am joined by Ken DeGraw, who is also a member of the team, and he will be giving his perspective on bankruptcy alternatives. We do need to start out by reminding everyone that the information you're about to hear is general in nature and should not be acted upon without the advice and counsel of qualified legal representation and financial advisors who can evaluate your unique circumstances. So with that said, let's get started. Ken, your first question is, how do I know if I should consider a bankruptcy?
Great question. It's kind of one of those, if you have to ask the question, you probably already know the answer. Some of the indicators are certainly that your creditors are kind of hounding you nonstop, or perhaps you've gotten into some protracted litigation that has just some potential significant downside. You've run out of money. There's no more credit lines. You've run through the credit cards, or your business line of credit has dried up. So it could also be it could be a pandemic has occurred, and you've just lost all of your revenue, or perhaps a loss of a significant customer, which is kind of the more typical. And the existing business plan just isn't going to work, and you need to reorganize.
Okay. Are there options other than bankruptcy?
Yeah, there are a couple, and it really depends on the unique circumstances. One of which is called an assignment for the benefit of creditors. We can talk about that a little more if you like. There's certainly an out-of-court workout, and there's a couple of variations of those that are out there. Generally, bankruptcy offers some things that they do not. In particular, some protection for yourself as well as creditors on a go-forward basis.
So let's talk about the assignment for benefit of creditors. What is that?
All right, so it's a state law bankruptcy is probably the best way to put it. It's not a federal issue, so it doesn't carry the ability to sell your assets free and clear of all liens. However, it does provide certain protections for yourself as well as an acquirer of the business or the business's assets, if that's the way you end up going. In an assignment, typically the debtor entity is able to choose the assignee, which is the person you're gonna give all of your stuff to. They're then gonna liquidate it and distribute it out to the creditors. It's generally dealt with through the state court system. Here in New Jersey, it happens to be the surrogates court. Each state's got a little bit of a variation on it, but it can definitely work in certain circumstances.
What's a receivership?
So it's similar to the assignment in that a receivership is also a creature of state law, typically arising out of some kind of state court action. It could be pretty much anything where there's significant acrimony typically between the parties in the litigation, and the judge is going to insert a receiver in order to make sure that the assets are properly preserved and the business continues to run the way it's supposed to be run. Typically it comes out of some allegations of some kind of wrongdoing or misappropriation of assets, although there's lots of reasons for a receivership. It can be limited, it can be very intrusive, and it's really up to the particular judge in the order that they're going to put forth to make that call.
I see. How about special fiscal agents? Who are they?
So that's very similar to receivership. I know we're kind of seeming to repeat myself a little bit, but a special fiscal agent is a somewhat limited receiver, as the name seems to indicate. Their role deals with the financial side of the business. So they're there to make sure that the monies are properly being collected and deposited, and that the disbursements are being directed in the appropriate spots and not misdirected where they're not supposed to be going.
Okay. And I know you mentioned an out-of-court settlement. Let's talk about that. What is that?
Sure. So here we're definitely talking about a bankruptcy situation in 99% of the cases. And here what you're attempting to do is to settle the issues with your creditors without going to court at all, which can happen in some cases, particularly if you can get substantial agreement from your secured creditors and your largest unsecured creditors. Or alternatively, it can be something along the lines of a pre-pack, which is more of a bankruptcy concept.
Okay. And for your final question, I have heard the term pre-pack. What does that mean?
So as I kind of alluded to, it kind of dovetails off that out-of-court settlement issue, where here what we're doing is we're getting agreement amongst our creditor body as to exactly what's going to happen. We're then going to take that agreement and we're going to file for bankruptcy. And that agreement is going to form the foundation and the terms of the plan of reorganization that's going to be put together, and how the debtor estate is going to get managed and handled. It can absolutely work, and given the cost of a Chapter 11 these days, if it can be done, I highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you, Ken. I hope everyone found the information on bankruptcy alternatives helpful. Should you have specific questions regarding your unique circumstances, please reach out to a member of our team. Our contact information can be found at witham.com under Forensic and Valuation Services. This episode, as well as others in the series, can also be found at witham.com. Thank you for listening to Witham's Perspectives from the Bankruptcy Cliff.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you'll be first in line to hear what's coming next. Don't want to wait for our next episode? Check us out at witham.com. That's WITHUM.com.